Hi everybody. Okay, so this time it's actually balanced on my steering wheel. So maybe this will be better, a better spot for the camera. So, all right, I cannot resist talking about another episode of authors behaving badly, because we know that there have been more accusations against Neil Gaiman. Seriously, I mean, you have all the money, all the power anyway, and yet you still have to do that? Like, what the hell is wrong with you, man? I mean, just what is wrong with you? Wank sock is the solution for that. I'm serious. Just go try it. All right. But Neil Gaiman is not the person I want to talk about today. Back at the end of July, there was a little ripple in the horror community when a disgraced writer by the name of Tom Monteleone published what I can only call a missive of some kind over on Substack, and it actually got emailed out to Substack subscribers, and I guess he got a lot of angry emails asking why in the hell he was emailing them. But you have to be subscribed to Substack and to him on Substack in order to get this email. But man, oh man, what a kettle of worms. Well, I guess now I will try to put some links where I can find them, because the actual Substack has been taken down, but some glorious person over on Imgur did grab screen grabs of the whole thing, so you can read it if you like. I will try to remember to put the post up. And basically what he was whining about was, about a year and a half ago, I guess, his Lifetime Achievement Award was canceled. He was kicked out of the Horror Writers Association, and I guess his publisher or his agent cut ties with him, and his main buyer for Borderlands Press, which is the press that he basically runs, all canceled their orders. Now here's why. Or at least in a nutshell, because this guy kind of goes on and on, but basically he's a racist piece of crap, and I just don't get it, really. Oh, but he would defend himself by saying he's not racist, he's not transphobe. But yeah, dude, you are. When you say stuff like that, you are. The words that you use, the language that you use, we are writers. Words matter, okay? When you use words like cultural Marxist, we know that that means Jew, and then that means the Jews have too much power, okay? That's really what it means when you say a word like that. When you use diversity, equity, and inclusion as a pejorative, that's the new N-word, okay? You don't like the N-words to get ahead. We're writers. These words matter. And if you do not understand the dog whistles, then do not use them and pretend that you're not racist. Okay. So anyway, so this guy essentially was on a panel, from what I understand, at the HWA, and he took umbrage at one of the presenters wanting to use a gender-neutral pronoun of they, because he's too much of a, what I call a WWM, whinging white male, to accept that they is a perfectly valid pronoun to use for somebody, even in the singular. And of course, he whines and cries that he doesn't want to use made-up words. And you know what? Okay, first of all, it's perfectly acceptable Second, one more time, we're writers. Language matters. Words matter. And the simple fact of the matter that everybody seems to have forgotten in all of this pearl clutching about pronouns is that language is alive. It evolves, it grows. Binary language and aggressively gendered language, maybe that doesn't work in our modern world. So we find new names for things. That's what we've always done as human beings. 30,000 years ago, none of the words that we have today existed. 50 years ago, the word internet didn't exist because an internet didn't have a name. So why are you so hung up on the fact of using they as a pronoun? Explain it to me. Talk to me like I'm 5. And if all it really comes down to is you don't like trans people, then yeah, you're a fucking transphobe. It does not harm you in any way to use somebody's correct pronoun. And it does harm them, to misgender or blatantly show disrespect to that person. Because the fact of the matter is, when we disrespect the concept of what a person is, when we disrespect that person, this is the kind of thought about a person that leads to action. And the kind of action that leads toward people who are disrespectful is abuse. And trans people, look up the stats on how many trans people were abused and murdered in the last year. It's very sad. So if you don't think of a person as somebody who deserves respect and rights, then why are we having this fucking conversation? Okay. So he then apparently got really drunk, and part of the reason he was canceled was he got very drunk and went on a big long rant on his podcast, which was a stupid fucking thing to do. And so a year and a half later, he publishes this missive that basically whines that he shouldn't have been canceled because this was done on his own podcast and was not associated with the HWA in any way, and blah, blah, blah. And he didn't agree with the choices, that the HWA made for a Lifetime Achievement Award. So here we come to the second part. And this is where he says, he essentially said that out of the last 6 years, only 2 of the people who won Lifetime Achievement Awards were white men. Shut the fuck up, man. Seriously. You know what? Okay, so he complained that Linda Addison, although he said she's a lovely lady, which every interaction that I've watched with her, she seems wonderful. So at least he granted that she seems like a very nice person. But he says that, well, she just writes poetry. Again, words matter. You know what? Whether it's your thing or not, some people find poetry very fucking important. And he said Keijo Suzuki is somebody from out on Neptune. Isn't that the author of The Ring and the whole franchise? And The Ring essentially made J-horror popular in North America. So you cannot say, which by the way changed the face of horror in the early 2000s when it had completely stagnated. You cannot say that person was not influential. Fuck you. And he then picked on Owl Going Back, who has a very long career. I've only read one of his, and it was a creature horror story, and it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But, why don't you think that these people are accomplished enough And you know what? You don't get to make that fucking choice. You don't get to make that decision. But you're going to whine about it later? Boo fucking who? And it's amazing that he only picks on women and people of color from the last 6 years as Lifetime Achievement Award winners. What about the 20 years before that? How many boring white guys have won the Lifetime Achievement Award? Comparatively. I mean, there are still way more boring white guys in the horror field. And you know what? You still get to read them, even if they're not given this little prize. So why do you find women and people of color winning awards to be a threat? How is it a threat to you, except that you fucked up by whining about it and then turned around and called yourself a victim? Just get over it, my dude. So what? You know what? Most people, I'm going to tell you, and I hate to break your heart, but you know what? I posted that, oh, he's got a new book coming out. And most people that even are big readers, they don't know who the fuck you are either. So why do you think that somebody else doesn't deserve a Lifetime Achievement Award? Nope. He just has a big fucking problem with a person of color winning an award that he thinks should go to a boring white dude. And that's really sad. And the other author behaving badly that I want to talk about is Tillie Cole. Now, apparently she's a romance writer. Now, this actually, she hasn't done anything in her personal life, as far as I know, or even in her professional life, that should get her canceled. Like, I mean, not anywhere near as bad as some of the other authors that I've talked about in this little series of videos. But I was made very curious that she wrote a book. Oh, and by the way, apparently not a lot of people, it was not very controversial at the time, although it should have been more so. And apparently she's actually got a different book that is becoming a Netflix series. But she wrote a book where the big romantic hero was a member of the KKK. And apparently he fell in love with, I don't know if she was black or Latino or whatever, but a woman of color. And this is like, ooh, forbidden love. I guess it's some sort of like weird Romeo and Juliet thing. But she was accused of, you know, somehow glamorizing the KKK. Like, why? Just why? Nothing about the KKK is good. Although, back in the day, the KKK was kind of like the Shriners. So, there's a whole lot of weird stuff, weird history with those guys. Just, no. I mean, it's one thing to have a character who just is bad news, and it's another to have a character that's pure evil. And just, yeah, as writers, sometimes, you know, trying to be edgy, we go a step too far. But, yeah. I guess all I wanted to say really is we hear you, you know. You think you're not using, maybe Tom Monteleone is just somehow ignorant that using dog whistles like diversity, equity, inclusion, and cultural Marxist, maybe he doesn't understand that these are alt-right, you know, words that place you squarely with the most racist, boot-stomping, neo-Nazi fucking assholes. And if you don't understand that, then you might want to buy yourself a clue, because if you want to pretend that you're not I'm not racist, but I'm using all this racist language, then you're just a sad old man who is fucking clueless. And that is way, way worse. And that's going to get you canceled. And it's not because the woke stapo, as you call it, expects you to change your language. We expect you not to be an asshole. And so far, yeah, it's very, very disappointing on that front. So, I mean, I'm not part of this, but he says that other people privately agree with him. And you know what? If you're one of the people that agrees with him, really just don't. You're going to find yourself on the wrong side of history. And you know what? That's where you deserve to be. And frankly, every time one of these WWMs, rears his head, you know what I hear? I hear the shriek of a mastodon as it falls into a tar pit. Sort of a... Because language is changing. And language does matter. All right, I think that's all I have to say. Not strictly about Tom Monteleone, because I think he shares the sentiment of a lot of people who don't want to speak up for fear of being stopped by the woke stapo. And by the way, anybody who uses woke as a pejorative owes me a 500-word essay about what it means and realistically why you think you're not a racist. Okay? Deal. So I'm going to leave that there. Hope you're reading lots of horror. Have a great day.